Hi, welcome to my channel, and today I'm working on a very simple system on the exposure for photographs I've taken using the simplest, easiest method I can remember. So if you're interested to know how I go about working on my exposures, which I recently has worked it out myself, is that I would usually shoot on this camera with a fixed aperture, and today I'm going to fix my ISO at 200 ISO. It is a sunny day today with some clouds coming on very soon. I guess perhaps going to be raining, but we're using these ISO 200 and a fixed aperture of right now is on the 5.6. All I need to do to get between the dark scenes right behind me here and to the bright scenes right the streets here, I will only have to do one thing. Basically, I'm going to change my shutter speeds between 1/500 and 1/1000. So the comfortable range should be between 1/250 to 1/1000. So I'm going to do a very good judgment. Say if the scene is really bright, right, then I'm going to use a 1/1000, like in these scenes over here, the skies. And for dark shadowed scenes, then I will switch the shutter speed to 1/500 or even down to 1/250, right? So let's try out for now as an experiment to see whether these methods work. And this method is actually adopted from the Sunny 16's method, right? The Sunny 16's rule. So it's really easy. Let me demonstrate to you right now. Okay, let's try for this example here in this very contrasting brightness and shadow scene. We have a very dark, unlit store here, and we have a very bright scene, the skies over here. A little bit overcast, but still very hot. Look at the shadows over here. So for now, I'm going to switch, since this is a bright scene, I will switch to ISO of 200, aperture of 5.6, and I'm on manual focus, so I'm going to focus onto that building over there to infinity, just for a demonstration, and using shutter speeds of 1/1000. So I will just take a shot blindly. Right, this is the shot for 1/1000, and I'm going to take a shot here at this building, this store here, which is presume is going to be dark. So I'm going to switch to 1/250. So again, I'm going to shoot just like that, right? And so if the scene is still too dark, then I will go down to 1/135. So the first scene over at this building, the histogram has a highlight and the shadows quite evenly spread out. And then we have is the shadow, lots of shadow over here, and still having some highlight. So basically, because the scene is dark, so you won't see a lot of highlight, but basically you get the idea that without even thinking and looking at the live view, you should be able to get a very good estimate of the exposure for dark scene and the bright scene. Right. Now we're going to enter an alley. It's shaded, there's no direct sunlight over here. So I presume this is going to work with 1/250. Right, let's try out. So this is at 1/250. We'll take this staircase. And right, you can see from the photo it is generally quite okay exposure. All you need to do is do a slight adjustment in post and you should be alright. Right, so along this street here, I would comfortably say you should be able to get a very good exposure with 1/250. And depending on how your style is going to be, you want it to be in the low key and high key. From there, you can go like 125, 1/1000. So it's up to you. It's your style. So here's more that I want to add on. Say if you are through the days and you realize that the sky has not been what you have seen in the beginning, like it's been sunny, that what you saw was very sunny, and right now you can see that it is kind of like very cloudy and probably going to rain, then you may have to drop your shutter speed into an even slower speed, for example 1/60 or 1/30. And in this situation, I will not go below like 160 or 125. So in that case, I have to compromise and use a bigger aperture. So right now I'm using a 5.6, so perhaps I can go down to f4 or even f2.8, and we shall see if that actually works, because based on this lighting, it has become dim, darker. So using a 5.6 may not really work right now. So let's try a 2.8. So for now, I will still set my shutter speed to 1/250, right? And I'm going to turn my aperture to 2.8. Let's try out. So presuming this is still dark, not too well lit, then I'll take this wall and this bicycle here. So let's move on to the next scene. Right, so you see, right now it's correctly exposed. Sorry. So I just made a shot of that man working, the worker, with the same setting. I did not change any settings because I look at the lightings here, it didn't change. It didn't get brighter or didn't get darker, right? So let's find another scene just to prove that it really works, right? Let's try this scene over here. I will say 125. This is still at f4, but I've changed the shutter speed to 125. So the key to how I shoot right now is basically I'm changing the shutter speed constantly when the light changes without touching on the ISO and the f-stop. So the real reason is because I want to keep the ISO low to get that right color, because high ISO usually means quite a faded color and higher noise. So I want to have less noise, good colors, and changing the f-stop to the correct lighting, and then I will switch around between shutter speeds. Or right now you can see the sun has come out and then it's so bright. So I'm going to work my shutter speed to 1/1000. Okay, so I'm sure I can do it. It's 1/1000 and it's correctly exposed. So constantly I'm in my mind checking out the light, adjusting the shutter speed. Whole purpose of this that I'm trying to work on, still practicing on it, obviously, because I still get some shots that are still incorrectly exposed. So this whole practice is going to help me visualize the exposure that I want, right? So if you're going to set this camera to automatic exposure, then obviously everything will be all right. But is that what you want? But definitely not what I want, because in certain scenes, I do not want every scenes to be perfectly exposed, because there'll be some of your personal styles that you wish to have certain scenes that are a little bit darker in the shadows, or certain scenes that are in high keys and brighter, and in the pastel color like this building over there. You may want to have it in the pastel color and more over exposed or high key in that sense. So you will try to adjust your camera settings accordingly to get what you want, and not in the post edit. So there's one thing about post edit. I do post edit, obviously. To a certain degree, I will do a post edit, make sure that the pictures are presentable, and that is the main reason I do post edit. And the second reason, most importantly, is you shoot with your intention, what kind of exposure that you want it to be in your scene. And that's the most important thing that I think I would like to learn. So last call for today's shot before we end this video is we're going to do it one more time again, like what we have done in the beginning. A bright scene and a dark scene with a fixed aperture and a fixed ISO, and we're going to switch the shutter speed between a lower and a slower and a faster shutter speed to get the correct exposure that we want. Okay, so this scene is the most appropriate for me to demonstrate to you again before we end this video, because we have the side bright sunny lit area and another area that is in the shadow, light and shadow, right? So now I step down to 5.6, then we'll take the scene again. You can take this lantern. And the lantern is this, and we'll go on to take a picture of the shadow at 1:250, and let's review the pictures again. There you have it. The lantern now it's on the low key, meaning most of the histogram are in the left half, and on the shadow scene somewhere in the middle to the low, so it's on the low key side of the pictures that my style is where I just did, right? So correctly exposed, slightly on the low key for shadow scenes and bright scene. So with that, you should be able to have your styles for today generally on a low key just by switching between shutter speed. That is all to it, very simple. Fix the aperture and ISO and play around with the shutter speed for different lit scene, dark and bright. Right, hope you guys enjoy this video and see you again next time. Probably I will do a manual focusing kind of thing with you guys. If you are interested, leave your comments below and I'll see you next week.